everybody, we're back here again, and we're in another new era here. We've ran through, of course, the two rather large discographies of Dio and Judas Priest, and then the really quick Mr. Mister album discography. But now, like I announced in the ranking of those Mr. Mister albums, we're going to be looking at none other than the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne. And man, what a very decorated discography. But you know, it all began right here on Blizzard of Oz, 1980s Blizzard of Oz. And of course, this album, very iconic album cover, Ozzy on the front there in the attic. But yeah, this of course came out after he was kicked out of Black Sabbath and after the Never Say Die album in 1979. With some trouble, after some troubles with the band, and Sharon had to pull him out of this hole he was getting himself into. And of course, he, got Randy Rhoads from Quiet Riot to play guitar on here, which is such a prodigy, and it's a shame about the whole tragedy that happened to him. But on this record and the one after, he just absolutely blew everyone's mind. So, at least we got to be grateful for what we got from Randy Rhoads. But anyways, yeah, we'll go ahead and hop out into this thing, this masterpiece of a record. One of the best debut albums of all time, easily. With I Don't Know. That's probably my favorite song off here. I'm talking the breakdown in the middle is absolutely beautiful. Very killer riff. The production on this isn't as strong as some of Ozzy's, albums that would come after this. A lot of his albums kind of grew in better production. Of course, some of them kind of were dipping in there and stuff, but I'll get into that, as we go along in the series. But this one, it's not bad production at all. Very solid stuff. I love the guitar tone of Randy Rhoads. One of my favorite guitar tones of all time. And like on the track, I Don't Know, the riff of that, very classic, very awesome way. And like I said, the breakdown in that song is just masterful and such a incredible vocal melody from Ozzy. Then we've got, of course, track 2, the big, probably his biggest song ever, Crazy Train. And like I said in another video, I don't really listen to the radio at all. So if I've not heard this album in a while, and I pop it on and that comes on, I'm not sitting here like, oh my God. I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's not one of my favorites off here, obviously. But that's not a bad song. The solo's killer. Very fun solo to play on guitar. But, yeah, very classic song. So, it's not a slide on this album at all. It has its place on here. Then you got the ballad on here, track number 3, Goodbye to Romance, very beautiful one. And again, with the tone of Randy Rhoads, some of those, even on his clean tone, it just, it resonates with me. It's such a very feel-good tone. In fact, I've been trying to experiment on my guitar stuff, trying to get that tone lately since, after listening to this album, after, starting this thing. Then we've got an acoustic, like, almost a little interlude here from Randy Rhoads, D. And, it's like a 1 minute, 2 minute thing, but, like I said, we got to cherish what we got from Randy Rhoads, and this is a very pretty interlude, very pretty acoustic interlude from him. Then we got another one of my favorites off here, Suicide Solution. Talk about those melodies again, and the lyrics are dark. And I know that song caused some controversy back in the day with him and with Ozzy, with some of the lyrics and stuff. But, it's all in the name of good, good music, heavy metal, and art. And what a great song. One of my favorites off here. Then you can move on to side 2 with Mr. Crowley. Another big hit off here. Very huge. And the solos. Because, yeah, there are 2 iconic solos in this thing. The ending one, of course, and the mid solo. Both incredible. And that's a very dark song, too. I love the keyboard, organ sound they got going on there at the very beginning of it. And again, really cool lyrics, really cool, like the Aleister Crowley stuff that he's talking about in that song. It's very cool, very dark. Then you've got, it might be my least favorite off here, No Bone Movies. It's not a bad song at all, but it's kind of, the chorus is just kind of repetitive and stuff. It's kind of a filler track for me. And it kind of gets that way on side 2 after Mr. Crowley. But there are, like Revelation Mother Earth, the one after No Bone Movies, track 3 on side 2. That's a really good song. That's a very good song. It's pretty lengthy too. And it's, it kind of, shows how Ozzy, like, even like back in the 70s was really all for like, he was kind of a little bit of a hippie, you know, like not exactly all the way, but like he was, and even like in some of his later albums, talks about peace and why are we doing this war and all that. Like on like Killer of Giants, that song just describes it right there in off Ultimate Sin. But yeah, this kind of shows a little bit of that too. Then the final track is "Steal Away the Night," and that's another really well, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's one of my least favorites off here. Really, the side two is a fair amount weaker than side one. Side one is just greatness after greatness after greatness over and over. Side two, it's got a couple filler on there. I'd say "Steal Away the Night" is maybe one of them for me. And same with No Bone Movies. But yeah, what an incredible record. It's hard to, you know, even though a lot of people may overrate this album, or a lot of people think people overrate this album, and I kind of think some people overrate it just because it's the first one at times. I still think it's an incredible, incredible record, and like I said, one of the best debut albums of all time. Ozzy came out with a bang, showing that, hey, you know, Sabbath, you guys got another thing coming. If you think I'm just gonna vanish. He came out with freaking Randy Rhoads, and of course, also I gotta give, you know, rest in peace to Lee Kerslake on the drums, who actually died. I think it was late last year or earlier this year. He played drums on this album, and I can't remember. I don't think he did it on Diary of a Madman, but he did it on that, so that was pretty sad. And of course, I got to give a big, you know, praise to Bob Daisley on the bass. Very incredible bass tone, which gets even better on the next record that we'll talk about next time, Diary of a Madman. But yeah, guys, I'm very excited. Ozzy Osbourne's got such a rich discography. It's really varied on a lot of like in the sound on them. I could say easily all of his albums have a different, distinct sound, and that makes this very exciting. So check out these next ones coming up. I'm very hyped to be reviewing and talking about, and of course, eventually ranking these. Thanks so much, guys. Let me know what you think about this album.